oh, hey, we're getting unwhelmed. We're going to run through the steps of what happens when we unwhelm. And the first step is to acknowledge the overwhelm. We are overwhelmed, and we'll talk about how did we get here. And one of the ways we recognize how we got here is we play a game called the worst game show ever. Women face unique challenges in business. So I'm pretty sure that a man has never been asked how he's going to juggle his career when he wants to have children. I'm pretty sure that my male professional colleagues have never worried that when they bend over during a presentation, somebody's going to see their bra. And I am fairly certain that aside from my husband, no male that I know has ever had his ass grabbed at work or been called sweet tits. And I know my husband has because, well, I do that to him, but that's okay. He kind of likes it. He's off camera and giggling and blushing. So that means that we have to hold a whole shit ton of societal pressures and grooming and trauma, collective intergenerational trauma that men simply don't have to navigate. So when we talk about being overwhelmed, we often accept responsibility for that. And that's bullshit, first of all. And secondly, it is not our fault. That doesn't mean that we don't have to do the work, and it doesn't mean that sometimes we don't make mistakes and fail because we made mistakes. Yes, we do. And a lot of the things that prevent women from having great success in business are because of the way society is set up for women in business to fail. And anybody watching the news, I'm pretty sure we're all pretty clear this week that the patriarchy does not give two shits about women, their autonomy, their independence, and their whole beings, which means we are all operating in a system that is designed to make sure that we are not more successful than white wealthy men. And I say, fuck that. I have a friend, Sarah, who says, capitalism is a boys' game and we're here to win capitalism. So we are going to smash the patriarchy, one women-owned business or women-led business at a time. And we're going to have a ball doing it, and we're going to be very subversive. Maybe we'll post like makeup tips and cooking tips and recipes, and then subversively hide our true purpose within those, like real witches. The worst game show ever is 4 parts. First part is responsibility roundup. I would like you to throw in chat, what are some responsibilities that you manage every day that you do not have to think about, or your spouse or significant other or colleagues do not have to worry about? I'm talking about things that moms do. And yes, I know that it's 2022, and I know that we, most of us have really supportive partners. And I would like to know, what are the things that you think about that your male colleagues perhaps don't have to think about? For instance, when my kids were younger, I knew what sizes they all wore. That's holding space in my head. I know right now whether the dishwasher is clean or dirty. I know who's got to take what classes when. I know what time I have to pick up the kids. I know that the dog is sleeping behind me now because he has been outside in the last 45 minutes, right? So these are the things that we are holding space for. And this is just what we're thinking about in 15 seconds. So we are holding space in our brain for all of those things. And what does that do to the bandwidth that we have to execute a full-time business? What does it do to our creative bandwidth? It just smashes it. I mean, the chat is just blowing up. It is amazing what women hold while also running a business. So the next thing we're going to do is just stretch out a little bit, reach around and pat yourself on the back, because you are killing it while holding space for all of this shit in your brain. The second piece of the worst game show ever is society sucks. In this category, we have things like the pay gap. We have things like Supreme Court decisions that screw over women. We have corporate leadership and a tiny single-digit percentage of women CEOs. These are the things that just exist. So thank you, Lisa. Pop in chat the things that are happening in society or have happened in society that are disadvantageous to women or advantage men over women. I'm going to keep going while you're thinking about that. The third piece of the responsibility roundup is your parents fucked up. That is not to say that we are here to blame your parents. It just means that your parents didn't have the tools potentially to support you in a way that you needed to be supported. I often told my kids that they didn't get a college fund, they just got a therapy fund, because I'm quite sure that I'm visiting trauma upon them. The fourth piece of the worst game show ever is, what's your diagnosis? This is diagnoses that you may have gotten from a doctor or not. These are ones you may have given yourself, or ones that have been foisted upon you. I had always the diagnosis of TOO, too much, too loud, too fast, too brazen. One of my former partners told me that I was too masculine. And I was like, that's wonderful, thank you. Perhaps the problem is that you're not masculine enough. Notice I said former partners, and I digress. But these are the four pieces of the worst game show ever. And this means where you are is not your fault, but you get to fix it. We cannot move forward and figure out what to do to fix it until we acknowledge why we are where we are, right? So if you don't acknowledge what those pieces are, then you cannot acknowledge and mitigate for them. So if I don't say up front that I have ADHD, I don't take the steps within my business to manage ADHD. If I don't say, oh, I'm coming from childhood trauma and I had a chaotic childhood, and so right now, what I do to manage that, how it manifests is I often, when I'm anxious, try to exert extreme control. If I don't recognize this, I'm going to drive away partners and employees and clients. So the worst game show ever ends on a very conflicting note, because it's really liberating. And there are some folks with us who played this game show in person at a workshop. And I would love to hear in the chat, how did that feel at the end of that game show? Because I feel, when I go through this process, I feel simultaneously kind of depressed because there's a lot. And then I also feel liberated because naming it tames it, if you don't mind my borrowing some Brene Brown. Oh, hey, we're getting unwhelmed.